24 and 37 tells us that the days of the coming of the Son of Man would be very comparable to the days of Noah. So what were the days of Noah like? Part 2. Now we know that according to 2 Peter 2 and 5, Noah was a preacher of righteousness. So the word preacher in the Greek, when translated, really means herald, meaning that Noah would have been someone who would have publicly proclaimed the message of righteousness, the message of the Lord. Yet no one will listen. According to Genesis 7, we know that when Noah entered the boat, that is, Noah and his family entered the ark, it was business as usual upon the earth, because the Bible tells us that at that time people were still eating, they were still drinking, they were still being married and given in marriage, telling us that there was a very calloused, carefree, and business as usual mentality, even though Noah would have publicly proclaimed the gospel. That is very clear in the Bible, and it reminds us of the current time that we're living in. There are people preaching, there are people spreading the gospel. In fact, the Bible quickly tells us that the gospel is going to be proclaimed to the ends of the earth before the Lord returns. It is the same exact notion here. The gospel is being preached, but people are continuing with a very calloused, carefree, and business as usual mentality. Another thing about the whole story of Noah in Genesis is that I find it very interesting that God is the one that calls the animals onto the boat. When it speaks of the ark, it never says that Noah went gathering them. The Bible tells us that God led them there. They had a God sense that they were supposed to come on board the ark, and God chose exactly how many he needed. Now, when they came upon the ark, those were saved, but the rest of the animals, they would have drowned in the flood. Now, I know that seems like such a crass and a harsh thing, but when I look at the book of Jonah, and it speaks about while Jonah was going through Nineveh, preaching, I think by day 2 of his sermons, he reached the king. Now, the king was repentant as well, but the king, his edict was to make everyone fast, including the animals. Now, why would an animal have to fast? That seems like such a contrary and bizarre thing. But according to the prophet Nahum, Nineveh was a place of depraved evil, very similar to what it was like in the days of Jonah. So much so that Bible scholars have even suggested that there may have been a level of bestiality in Nineveh. Now, is this true? I don't know. What I do find very interesting is in both cases, even animals felt the fate of what was going to happen upon the earth and what did in fact happen. It reminds me of even in the book of Revelation, during the time of the tribulation, wild beasts would devour a large population of mankind. Makes me wonder what it is about the animals in this time. Is there something that we don't know? Now, I'm not going to dive deep into that. I'm just saying that there's so many parallels with the days of Noah and the current time that we're living in. The main takeaway in the whole story of Noah is to know this. Even if no one stands for Jesus, you need to, because a day will come when there will be no more chances. We are not in the tribulation, we're in the birth pain time, but now is the time to stand up for the gospel. Now is the time to believe. Now is the time to believe for the lost and the backslidden. Live for the Lord while we are yet in daylight. While we go through this time, regardless of what's going on in the world, God is going to take care of us. We belong to him. We are his children. We are the sheep of his pasture. He is our good shepherd. He promised he will never leave, never forsake. And he is not a man that he should lie, nor is he the son of man that he will change his mind. If he said he's going to take care of us, then he will. But while we are here, do the work of the Lord in the land of the living. Continue living for him and praying for the rest. Love you guys. Bye.